All right. Hey everyone. My name is Megan. I'm an assistant hospitality manager here at Joseph Phelps, and I've been with the company for almost 5 years. And I'm talking to you a little bit today about Syrah and Viognier. So is Dexter, apparently. And Syrah is something we're actually been making Syrah the longest of any winery in not just Napa Valley but in California, which is really cool. Our Syrah today, this is not the most current vintage. Our current vintage is 2016, but this is what I had. It comes from down in the Carneros region, and it's through a partnership that we have with Syrah and Vineyards. Larry Hyde and Sons has been making wine in Napa Valley growing grapes in Napa Valley for almost 40 years now. And we've been very lucky to have a partnership with them for just about 10 years, where we actually farm a 7-acre portion of their vineyard, 6 acres of Syrah, 1 acre of Viognier. Then we bring it in for ourselves, so we can call it estate only, since we did all the farming on their property. It's generally today around 95% Syrah and about 5% Viognier, and it's usually aged in mostly oak puncheons. So we like to use the larger size barrels, so that we're not adding too much of an oak characteristic to it. We don't want it to be too tannic, but it actually does save quite a little while. I also found a 93 with our older label in the back of my wine fridge. Yay, props. But it's not a wine that we normally have for the public, so this is a little bit more of a special one. In fact, it's a really good reason that a lot of people join our wine club, because we don't have very much to share. Like I said, it's just that 6 acres that we have down in Carneros, but it's a really important part of our legacy. We also make a Viognier, and we were one of the first 4 wineries in the Napa Valley to get into Viognier. Joe Phelps himself was just really big into the Rhone varieties, and when he got out here in the early 70s, it's one of the first things he started looking for, and Syrah just wasn't in Napa. People maybe had some planted. They were often blending it with Petit Syrah or other things, maybe Grenache, and Joe and Walter Sugar, our first winemaker, were really lucky to find a little bit that Christian Brothers had planted just along Zinfandel, just south of the winery today. And they used that for our 1974 vintage. And that same year we actually planted some up at the home ranch, up on the back half of the property, which today is planted to Cabernet. But they experimented with there. We started using fruit from the home ranch in the 1970s. And then in the mid-80s, the family actually bought property down in Monterey. And from there, our Rhone program actually exploded. We started off with the Les Mistral program here, and under the Les Mistral label, we made Syrah, Marsanne. We made what we're best known for was the actual Les Mistral, which was a version of Chateauneuf-du-Pape, well, an American version of Chateauneuf-du-Pape. That went over very, very well. You'll still hear club members ask about it today. Unfortunately, our last vintage of that was 2006. But in the early 2000s, when we decided to go towards estate only, consolidate a little more, it just made more sense. We were trucking grapes all the way from Monterey up to Napa, and you know how fragile grapes can be. We would prefer not to do that if we can. So we just really wanted everything to be close to home, and unfortunately, where we have vineyards today, a lot of the Rhone varieties just don't do their best. So we did consolidate more to the Bordeaux and Sonoma, of course, our more Burgundy grapes that we have grown out there. But the Syrah and Viognier that we do make today are pretty awesome. The Viognier we actually have planted at 2 of our properties. There's that little bit I mentioned down at the Larry Hyde and Sons, which is down in the Carneros region of Napa, so it stays nice and cool down there. And we also have a small block up at the home ranch, actually very close to where you first come onto the property. And the Viognier is brought in. That also sees a little bit of oak. We actually age it for 7 months in oak puncheons, just to give it a little bit of that softness on the finish. It's a really nice wine. It has a lot of It has a lot of like honeysuckle and white flower notes. There's a lot of like apricot and pear. Our winemakers really, really enjoy this one. And again, we just don't make a ton of it. In fact, currently these wines are limited to people that sit in on our well, actually, the Syrah is limited to people that sit in our single vineyards experience words, and the Viognier is limited to one bottle to people that sit in on our aroma experience. Otherwise, it's a really, really nice reason for people to join the wine club to get to first access to these really, really nice wines. So thanks for sitting with me. Thanks for taking a look at I have some weird labels on some of these, but gives you an idea of what they look like. And cheers.